Hello and welcome to Snetterton. We're here this weekend with the Radical Clubman's Cup, and in changeable weather conditions, qualifying and the choice of tyres is going to be critical.
A damp circuit greeted the drivers at Snetterton ahead of the qualifying session. A rain shower previously, but with no more rain forecast, the circuit was going to be drying and getting quicker and quicker throughout the session. So would it be wets or slicks in the early stages? Most of the cars put wet tyres on initially, the circuit was reasonably damp as they made their way out onto the 300 version of the Snetterton circuit. In the damp conditions, Sam Brabham and Brian Caldwell were swapping quick times. But eventually the circuit got drier and drier until it was ready for slick tyres. Sam Brabham putting in a good lap time. He and Brian Murphy doing battle in the early stages, and it was the PR6s that were looking stronger than the quicker SR3s on the track. Steve Burgess could only manage 5th quickest. Oscar Kruger looked to be the man on pole position, but with the final lap of the session, it was Martin Brooks who took pole.
Yeah, really intriguing qualifying there because the conditions just played right into the good strategist's hands, with the PR6s being on a Formula 3 base tyre. That's more sidewall, so it heats up an awful lot quicker in those, especially in those circumstances where it's half wet, half dry. So they could get heat into the slicks. The PR6 drivers could heat into the slicks quite a bit quicker than the SR3 guys. And another 2 laps, and I think the times would have started to tumble again. So it really was the spin of the dice.
Well, qualifying started probably full wet conditions, 1 or 2 dry patches, but not as much as we thought. And it didn't dry as quick as either, as we'd have predicted. So it ended up being the right choice to be out in slicks, but only the last 5 minutes at the end was really the lap times coming, and the lap delta was coming down and down and down. So it was just a matter of being out there at the end on dry tyres and getting a clean lap or 2, which is what happened. Wet conditions absolutely suit the SR3. And the high-speed corners, SR3 is quicker, and the slow-speed corners, the PR6 is quicker. So today, looked like it favoured the PR6s, because I think Oscar's on the front row as well. So the times would say PR6s are quicker. But they're so closely matched, they're both great cars to drive, and it's nip or tuck both ways, as Oscar's shown all year. PR6 wins somewhere, SR3 wins the other place. It's one of the great things about the championship.
It'll be an all PR6 front row with Martin Brooks and Oscar Kruger on the first row of the grid. Sam Brabham will be 3rd, and he's the first of the SR3 cars. Mike Burgess will be starting down in 11th place ahead of Dan Vaughan, and the 2 Caldwells in 13th and 14th places, and a very strong 23 car grid taking to the start of the race here at Snetterton in the Radical Clubman's Cup. On pole position then, Martin Brooks. Alongside him on the front row was Oscar Kruger. It was the 88 car of Sam Brabham, the first of the SR3s, who started 3rd on the grid when the lights went out. It was a pretty slow start from Brabham. He immediately lost out a few positions to Steve Burgess, while Craig Butterworth in the middle of the pack struggled to get going. But it was Martin Brooks and Oscar Kruger who immediately pulled away, having a big advantage over Steve Burgess, who'd gone from 5th to 3rd in the opening corner. Sam Brabham was coming under a reasonable amount of pressure from behind, but there was no one who could get him close to Brooks and Kruger, doing battle all the way around the circuit, starting to edge clear of the pack behind. Also a good start from John McLeod, who started in 9th and was running in 4th position in the early stages. Side by side across the line was going to become a regular occurrence between Brooks and Kruger, but their advantage was halted because of the safety car, allowing the rest of the field to close in the gap. Still Steve Burgess running in 3rd place ahead of John McLeod. The green flag waved, and that allowed Brooks and Kruger to resume their battle. They followed each other nose to tail around the entirety of the circuit for the majority of the race. Peter Belshaw chasing Sam Brabham as they did battle over 6th position. But Martin Brooks, despite many attempts from Oscar Kruger to get past, was still maintaining the lead of the race. There were battles throughout the pack. Here, Hui-Sun Kim challenging David Evans. But at the checker flag, it was side by side, and it was just Martin Brooks who took victory in the first race of the weekend by 0.034 of a second. Steve Burgess held on to finish in 3rd place, the first of the SR3s, ahead of John McLeod and Sam Brabham.
Oscar gave me such a great race. I mean, we were wheel to wheel. We made a slight contact just the once, but it was a great race, highly enjoyable. And I didn't even know we were in the last lap. When I saw the checker flag come out and Oscar came whistling up the inside, I thought, oh no, I was pulling everything in. I was trying to get my head down, and I guess I just pipped him.
Yeah, we had a really good race all the way through. We were really close, and I thought the last turn was my last chance, so I gave it a shot, but I lost the drag race to the finish line. But second place, still good, fun race.
Run the Super Sports class, which is good, but it's a frustrating race with all the stop-starting. The SR3 takes that couple of laps longer to get up to temperature with the tyres, so every time we seem to get up to temperature, the red flag or safety car. So yeah, but for points it was good.
For points, it's good. Of course, you're one of the drivers. Oscar played his double points joker at Alton Park. You've still got that in the bag to play at some point.
Yeah, I'll save that to later in the season. But yeah, obviously a couple of competitors had a bad start or had some off. So yeah, in terms of points, it was a good race.
Unfortunately for Martin Brooks, a post-race technical infringement meant that he was disqualified from the first race, giving victory to Oscar Kruger. The grid for the second race of the weekend for the Radical Clubman's Cup sees Oscar Kruger start on pole position with Martin Brooks in second position. Steve Burgess, the first of the SR3s, he'll start third on the grid. So the red lights come on and we're away. It's a good initial getaway from Martin Brooks, but then he sort of bogs down a little bit, not as much as Peter Belshaw there in the middle of the pack, but it's side by side once again between Brooks and Kruger as they come into Riches for the first time. On board we go with John Caldwell, threading his way through the double apex right-hander, trying to make up some positions. He started down in 9th position, looks to the inside line on the run into Montreal, but a sideways action for Kruger because it is Brooks who has taken the lead of the race then. So Brooks managed to get into the lead and will try and hold it for as long as he can, no doubt. John Caldwell going wide as he loses a place, coming through Palmer's and then down towards the hairpin. But Martin Brooks it is who is out in front. Oscar Kruger, the Swedish driver, following him closely as they come out onto the Bentley Straight. A really strong field of radicals in the Clubman's Cup. Great to see them winding their way through. But now it's side by side for the lead of the race and Brooks closes the door. Kruger not quite close enough alongside. And Brooks holds on to the place for the time being. Still, it's Steve Burgess, the first of the SR3s, in third position at the moment as they dive through the bomb hole out towards Coram. On board with John Caldwell coming through Coram now. The right-hander that just goes on and on, starts to feather the throttle and then get on the brakes to come into Murray's. Neatly done from Caldwell. As the race leaders go nose to tail into Riches again. You could hardly put anything between them as they came into the corner. Flashing through, a look up the inside from Craig Butterworth. He manages to get past Elliot Goodman there in a battle between the SR3s. And that's now 5th position for Craig Butterworth. But there's Steve Burgess still in 3rd place in the number 2 car. 66 through is Brian Caldwell, then it's Brian Murphy behind him. But Martin Brooks continuing to lead the way as they turn through Oggies, out through Williams and onto the Bentley Straight. Steve Burgess is sticking with them quite well. As this is Mike Burgess going on the attack as he tries to find a way past the 13 car of Simon Garmston in front of him, and he has managed to get the inside line on the run towards Williams. Down into Brundle, a move towards the inside from Craig Butterworth. Desperate to try and find a way past the 23 car of Dan Vaughan now. Butterworth still sitting in behind in the SR3. As they flash out now through Coram, a look to the inside is ambitious. This is a replay of On Board with John Caldwell. Oh, and he's just got it crossed up and spins around. Looked like he was going to go into the back of the cars in front and had to spin to avoid almost. And he drops well down the order now, Caldwell, down into the mid-teens. Our race leaders still running together. Down into Oggies they come. Martin Brooks leading the way, Oscar Kruger right up behind him. That's the way they finished in the first race. But then Brooks was disqualified. Craig Butterworth desperate to get past Caldwell, and he's done it. On the exit of Oggies, Craig Butterworth takes 5th position. But now here come our race leaders, absolutely side by side down the Bentley Straight. And it's the inside line for Oscar Kruger, and he gets past. On the final lap of the race, Kruger goes through, does he? It's still side by side as they come out towards the bomb hole, but Kruger is through into the lead. Martin Brooks has to drop down to second position, and Kruger is going to take victory here, surely at Snetterton. There's the 4 car of Peter Belshaw after a poor start. He managed to recover up to 8th place, chasing down Sam Brabham as they'll do battle, but there is our race winner, Oscar Kruger, taking victory on the final lap in that battle with Martin Brooks. Here's a look at the results. Only half a second between Kruger and Brooks at the finishing line. Steve Burgess finishing 3rd, the first of the SR3s, ahead of John McLeod. So Kruger on the top step of the podium. He was handed the victory yesterday after Brooks' disqualification, but today he certainly earned it.
Oscar, you managed to eventually carve your way through and get ahead of Martin Brooks. He didn't make it easy for you.
No, he was very quick. I took the start, but then I made a little mistake up in the hairpin and lost the first position. But yeah, I didn't have the grip to pass him. But in the end, I had a bit lucky. I was a bit lucky with back marker, so I managed to take the opportunity and pass him then.
Yeah, no, it's been a great weekend with the pace in the car. It's been really quick in some parts of the track, and I've enjoyed the 2 races. If somebody'd offered me a first and a second before the little issue, I'd have taken it yesterday for absolutely sure. But racing and Radical Championships are great. Oscar drove really well all weekend and deserves his 2 wins.
Steve, the SR3 started to come on strong midway through the race, but then I think you settled, did you, for the class win and 3rd overall?
No, I was still pushing. I couldn't seem to close the gap down to the 2 in front. They were battling hard. I was hoping, they would trip each other up. And maybe towards the end I started to push a little bit too hard and make a few silly mistakes, which didn't allow me to catch on to the back of them.
In the early stages of the race, though, John McLeod was giving you a thing or two to think about as you were battling for the lead of your class.
Yeah, I'd keep an eye on the mirrors because he didn't let much of a gap form. But yeah, second half I managed to put a bit of a gap, so it was just keep an eye on the guys in front and try and close it, but unfortunately I didn't.
2 victories then for Oscar Kruger sees him extend his advantage at the top of the Radical Clubman's Cup. Steve Burgess 2nd in the championship as they leave Snetterton. Well, that's it from all of the action here at Snetterton in the Radical Clubman's Cup. It was another class win for Oscar Kruger in both of the races and for Steve Burgess, so they keep the pressure up on each other in terms of the championship. Join us next time when we head to Castle Combe in Wiltshire.